Okay, this is going to be a serious one. This is going to be a little more of a story time. Some things that I've dealt with and I've gone through, and I just want you to know that you're not alone and you're not the only one going through something like this. Food addiction. So it's real. I grew up pretty much just like any other kid in the Midwest. Not eating great. Eating a lot of crap, a lot of fried foods, a lot of packaged foods. I didn't know anything that I was putting into my body. I know you guys have heard me say this a million times, but then I got my food allergies, and that really was part of when food started to take over my life. So before, I never had to think about anything that I ate or put into my mouth. Did I like it? Did I want it? That's about what it was. I knew I was supposed to eat vegetables, and I'd eat them every once in a while, but it wasn't a priority. When I got sick, I found out that what was making me sick was food. It kind of felt like a betrayal because it's something that you can't avoid. If you're addicted to cigarettes or alcohol or anything like that, you can just stop cold turkey, remove yourself from that, and try to stay away from it as best you can. If you're addicted to food, or food is the thing that has control over your body, you need that to survive. You can't get away from it. It's everywhere. Forget the social aspect of it that takes over the entire Western civilization, but the actual physical need for food prevents you from being able to run away from this problem. I found out food was making me sick. I then had to stop eating 20 different kinds of food, including some very major food groups. My entire life became about what I was putting into my mouth. So I went from not paying attention at all to spending all of my free time figuring out how I was going to feed myself and if that was going to make me sick or not. I had to cook every single meal for myself. Shout out to my mom, who was so important in helping me figure out what kind of meals I could put together. She did such a good job at feeding me, and I had so many restrictions. If that's not creativity, I don't know what is. My mom can make a pizza out of anything, because I was allergic to everything that goes into pizza, and somehow she magically came up with a way for me to eat pizza. Bless. But then when I went off to college, I couldn't eat any of the food that they provided. I couldn't eat out anywhere. I couldn't eat anything that was free or provided, or the ice cream socials and the pizza parties. I couldn't participate in any of it. All of the social situations that we have surrounding food, anniversaries, birthdays, weddings, literally any celebratory event in America is surrounding food. All of our holidays, all of them. So when food hates you and you start to hate food, then that becomes very frustrating and very emotional, and it feels like you don't have that control over your life. I felt left out in a lot of things in college. I also felt like a pain. I always felt like a thorn in someone's side constantly. Every time that we traveled or went to events, I had to bring all of my food with me and find a place to put it. I hurt so many grandmas' feelings because they tried to feed us poor college students, and I had to say no. And I felt so bad. My Midwest hospitality. Sometimes I would feel so guilty for not eating a beautiful meal that someone prepared that I would just eat it, and I would be so sick. So for a lot of people, it's just a physical thing that happens. You're hungry, you eat, you're done. But for me, my entire life became about it, and I was exhausted. Obviously, if I followed the rules and ate what I wasn't allergic to, I started to feel better, which was great. I was very grateful to not be quite as sick anymore, but that was still a huge adjustment. Eventually, my food intolerances slowly got better and they went away, and I was able to start eating food again, which felt like freedom, but it was so much freedom. I went a little overboard and I gained a lot of my weight back. My body was not used to these new foods. I wasn't used to putting these new foods into my body or how to balance them with the rest of my diet and nutrition. I led a relatively healthy lifestyle, but I still had no idea what I was doing, and I was just running as far away from the food prison as I possibly could. And then after so long of not feeling well and not being able to fit in my clothes, I realized food was still controlling my life. What felt like freedom was actually just a different food prison that I was in. So then I tried to lose the weight, which again was me focusing on food. And it's such a hard balance because you have to be educated and you have to know what's going in your body if you want to be able to lead a healthy life. But you don't want that to cross over into an unhealthy obsession. I don't know if you've heard about orthorexia, but it's a kind of eating disorder that it basically means that you're so focused on being healthy that you just keep cutting major food groups out of your diet because you think that they're bad for you. It starts with cutting out fast food and fried food, you know, which is normal, but it eventually is like, oh, beans are legumes and those can cause inflammation. I'm not gonna have beans. I'm only going to have the darkest vegetables. Root vegetables or starches, no root vegetables. Fruit has sugar in it. I'm not having fruit. It gets obsessive to the point where you just keep cutting back and cutting back and cutting back, and then you're just not eating anything and you actually end up being unhealthy, which is the opposite of the obsession. I went back and forth on different kinds of diets, focusing on getting my nutrition back on track, and it was a roller coaster. It was very up and down, very inconsistent. Eventually, I just started implementing normal, healthy habits. I didn't do it all at once. I didn't obsess over them. I didn't freak out if I couldn't follow the rules. I just tried adding vegetables into my meals and just bulking up my meals on vegetables and trying to drink my daily amount of water so that I could feel full and so I could focus on hydration more than food. I'd let myself go out every once in a while. I would also save money and make better health decisions by cooking for myself at home. I tried to look for different recipes and experiment and have fun with the meals I was cooking for myself so it didn't feel like a chore anymore. I'm not going to say that I'm done with this whole thing. I still find myself slipping back into unhealthy mental situations with food. I have to be careful if I start calorie counting because it can get a little obsessive. Everyone is different, and I just want you to know that food does not have to have a control over you. You can take your life back. You can be healthy without thinking about food every second of the day. We have to face food every single day, but it doesn't have to control us. In fact, it can be a huge, wonderful light of joy in your life if it's done correctly. You are not alone. I'm here to support you wherever you are at. I have so much that I could say because this was such a huge part of my life and something that I still deal with to this day, but I don't want to bore you. If you have any questions for me, go ahead and drop them in the comments below.